I've been looking for a house with no walls or no whispers.
Greetings and welcome to Empowering Women Everywhere, the place where you will find out about all of the great things that are happening and all of the women behind them. And today we have Lucy Joyce from the Cornell Cooperative Extension, and she is here to talk to us about what they do. So, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So what do we do? What do we do at Cornell Cooperative
First
Extension?
I'd like to find out, and we were just talking a little bit before, you have an amazing history, and you're actually celebrating your 100th anniversary.
We are.
So I'd like to hear a little bit about that, how you were formed and
Okay.
what the mission is and how
Okay.
you got started.
Okay, so Cornell University Cooperative Extension in Orange County, our mission is to, we enable people to improve their lives through experience and research knowledge. And that reaches every part of Orange County and really every part of our families. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year because in 1915, then the the Farm Bureau Association was formed. We were part of Farm Bureau. All of Cooperative Extension nationally was part of Farm Bureau until about 1950, when our missions split because Farm Bureau's mission was lobbying and ours was education, and so it was necessary to split the organizations. But how did Cooperative Extension get started? Do you think
Yes.
people would be interested?
I do.
It really starts way back in the Northwest Ordinance in the late 1700s, where this concept of the federal government offering land to states for public education. But it really became codified with the Morrill Act in 1862.
Mm-hmm.
This was the middle of the Civil War, and President Abraham Lincoln really embraced this concept that was developed in Congress. And it was also a carrot, if you will, to encourage the southern states to rejoin the Union so that they too could benefit. So the federal government owned vast amounts of land in the West, and each state was given substantial pieces of that land for them to sell in order for them to build a public university, which would educate the citizenry. This was very important in our young democracy, to have an educated citizenry in the areas of agriculture, military arts and sciences. And so that began. And in New York State, our land-grant university is Cornell University.
So basically, everyone's talking about free university for the people and the citizens in the U.S. And we've actually had a system that a lot of people haven't taken advantage of.
Well, it's not free. It would still cost you tuition to go to Cornell. Cornell is, I think, the only university that's a land-grant university that's both public and private. So, for example, in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania State University, or Penn State, is the land-grant university, but Pennsylvania University of Penn, of course, is part of the Ivy League, and that's a private university. At Cornell, there are 7 colleges, 4 of which are public universities and part of the SUNY system, and the other 3 are private, part of the private college. So New York, sometimes we're a complicated state, so even our own cooperative extension system is a little more complicated than in some of the other states.
Okay. How did you become involved with the cooperative extension?
Well, I didn't know that this would be my future way back when. My parents grew up in an urban area in Newark, New Jersey, and Queens, Long Island, and they became interested in raising livestock, and we moved to western New Jersey. I was just 5 years old at the time with 5 brothers and sisters, and we started a little sheep farm, and my mother had us all enrolled in 4-H club, and that's where we learned how to raise sheep, and we had horses and ducks on 42 acres in a small area in western New Jersey. That began my interest in animals. But then I went after college into the Peace Corps, and there was a position there for a 4-H extension agent. Here we call them educators now. And interestingly enough, our cooperative extension system is similarly organized in about 60 different countries, and including Thailand. And so I served for 2 years as an extension agent for 4-H in southern Thailand, in the Songkhla province. So that's when I thought about a career. I hadn't thought about it as a career as a 4-H member,
Right.
but at that time I was very interested in 4-H in general and 4-H specifically in cooperative extension in general. Although my first job wasn't as a 4-H agent, I'm a little bit unique to the system in that I don't have an animal science degree, but I came in as, or a home economics degree. Those would be the two typical ones.
Mm-hmm.
I have a government degree in emphasis in environmental studies. So when I came back, I had applied for a 4-H position, but then I learned that they had community development positions, and that really interested me. And so then I was hired in Broome County, and for 2 years, and then Orange County with its farm neighbor issues.
Right.
In the middle 80s, they came up with a community issues position in the agricultural program. And so then I was hired for that position in 1988. And I'd say I've been here ever since. But I worked for 10 years here. I had a 6-year break where we expanded, my husband and I expanded our family. And then I've been back now 11 years.
Okay. Where are you located?
We're located on Seward Avenue in Middletown. We're at the community campus, which is the old Middletown Psychiatric Center grounds. We're actually closer to Route 211, but you can get us from either County Road 78 or Route 211. Yeah, and we have enormous programs for youth. My goodness, we have 4-H is our hallmark program, and youth from 5 to 7 are called Clover Buds, and then from 8 to 18 are 4-H members, and a wide variety of programs. People are probably familiar with us with animals and what had been at the Orange County Fair for years. But in addition to animals, there's everything from rocketry and sewing, a lot of cooking. But the hallmark of 4-H really is citizenship. We teach public presenting. How many times have you been someplace, well, you're in the media business, but many people are uncomfortable speaking in public, and whether it's for their church group or whatever group, they get very nervous. And so it's a wonderful skill to have, to be able to speak in front of an audience, as well as community service. You know, you have to learn to give back at an early age, I think.
Right.
And 4-H really embodies that. And also how to run a meeting. A lot of people don't know how to run a meeting. And not that you have to be 100% strict with Robert's rules, but it really is helpful to know how to run a meeting properly. And then I think you have fewer, you have a small group that forms and then personalities get in the way. No, but if you stick to certain procedures,
Right.
you can not be personal about such things and move forward in a very positive direction. And those are 3 things, well, 4 really. They learn a subject matter. Whatever the subject matter is that interests them, they actually learn it and develop a skill. And sometimes it's a marketable skill.
Where are these programs held?
All over Orange County. So if someone was interested in either starting a new club or joining an existing club, they would call our office, and we have staff, we call them staff representatives for 4-H, who would meet with them and try to get them into an appropriate club for them.
Okay.
Now some clubs are countywide, like the Rabbit Club there's only one, and it's anyone from all over the county. Others are very neighborhood specific clubs.
Okay. And what number would they call?
A 344-1234, and just indicate that you're interested in 4-H, and we'll get you to the right person or take your contact information.
And what area code is that in?
I'm sorry, 845-344-1234, or they can go to our website and peruse and see if things interest them there, and that's spelled out Orange County, CCE .Orange County .org. .org, yeah.
Okay, so it's CCE
Orange County.
Orange County?
Yeah, CCEOrangeCounty.org. Sorry.
.org.
Yes.
Right. So basically, if a parent is working or both parents are working and the children come home from school, they can have a program where they can participate and learn life skills and learn public speaking and learn about, I guess.
Yeah, it's generally a very parents are generally very much involved. So the after school programs or tied with that are more in our cities than in our rural areas. Would be the clubs that staff would assist with.
Right.
We prefer, it's not a drop-off program. We really prefer that parent or responsible, much older sibling or someone would be involved. And then also parents share. So you're busy one time and you live close by, I could pick up your child and vice versa, so kind of like they do with sports and other school activities. People might carpool. We, of course, encourage that as well. But yeah, so it's a very fun program. But people can really learn a lot about it. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Go ahead, get ahead of yourself.
Get ahead of myself.
Go on.
So we're building an education center and 4-H park in the town of Mount Hope.
Okay.
It's got an Otisville address just outside the village of Otisville, and we're very, very excited about it. It's a huge project. We outgrew the Orange County Fair, so we've been in transition for 3 years, and we're starting back up again full force this July, and that's why it's so exciting. And we have a ribbon cutting on Wednesday, July 22nd at 3:30. And a number of dignitaries and others will be there, Chamber of Commerce, to help us cut the ribbon. But on Saturday, July 25th, we encourage anyone who's interested in the park, in 4-H, in any of our programs to come on out. I mentioned we're celebrating our 100th anniversary, so this is our 100th anniversary big celebration. We're celebrating with Orange County Farm Bureau. Menacing Valley Kiwanis is sponsoring our chicken barbecue, but there's veggie burgers for those who don't want chicken available also, and that will be from 5 to 7. Our staff will have a wide variety of activities going on. The rabbit show will begin early in the morning, but we're encouraging guests to come from noon to basically 8 or 8:30 at night. And so the rabbit show will be going on. We'll have some horse demonstrations there as well. There's a STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, science fair will be there as well. There's going to be games for kids to play. And we want to memorabilia displays, all the projects that the kids have made throughout the year. So if someone thinks they might be interested in 4-H, Saturday would be a great time. But people are welcome anytime from the ribbon cutting all the way through Sunday at about 2.
Now the ribbon cutting is going to be on, is that Friday?
No, that's a Wednesday.
Oh,
Wednesday, July 22nd at 3:30.
And the location again?
Yeah, 300 Finchville Turnpike in Otisville.
Okay. So they can come to the ribbon cutting.
They're welcome to come to the ribbon cutting, and immediately following the ribbon cutting, the dog show starts.
Okay.
So these will be activities that children who've been enrolled over the course of the year are either demonstrating or competing the rest of that week.
So children who are thinking about possibly becoming involved should come and see what it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so that's Wednesday,
July 22nd at 3:30 is the ribbon cutting, and then through the rest of the week we have other shows going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday, I would encourage people to come on Saturday from noon until 8. That's Saturday, July 25th, from noon to 8, for a whole bunch of other activities, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Now, you said that to me that they were putting up trusses and everything. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the construction is new to me, so it's been a steep learning curve. Luckily, we have a great committee. We have a terrific project manager, Stan Spencer, and equipment operator, Bob Waltenberg, and they've been doing yeoman's work. We have other contractors. Cement was being poured this morning.
What are you building?
We are building 4 barns and an arena.
Oh my goodness.
An outdoor arena. That will be done by the 22nd of July for our ribbon cutting. So it's very exciting. A lot is happening. And it will be a much larger complex when it's all done. But we're in phases. We're in phase 1, and there's 3 phases of development. So this is about by July 22nd, we'll be about more than halfway through phase 1.
How did this all come about?
This was an idea that started in 2002 with the idea of a nice, safe place, an appropriate place for our youth to show their skills. And over the years, it's really grown in mission. And now it initially was called 4-H Park, but it's so much bigger than 4-H now. And the town of Mount Hope has been very generous. We have a lease with the town. We looked all through the county for property, and then in 2010, the town of Mount Hope knew we were looking for property. They were interested in buying land that's adjacent to their parkland, and wondered if we would be interested in joining in a long-term lease that we could build our education center and 4-H park. So in 2012, we signed a lease on 54 acres to build this park. So that is incredibly exciting. The type of community that would be involved is that we're building it with where we can and where applicable with green infrastructure. So we'll have different stormwater management practices on the site as well. We're looking into various alternative energy sources, passive and active, in the building of the year-round facilities. And right now we're constructing seasonal facilities.
I want to ask you, what does it mean to you to be a woman actively involved in building and improving the community?
You know, it's interesting, when I started in the field of agriculture, there were very few women in the field. And even amongst executive directors with Cornell Cooperative Extension, there were mostly men in that position. And now there are many women in both areas. So that's been interesting for me to see that change take place. I feel I have tremendous support from men and women in the county, and I have men and women who are my mentors as well, who've just been really great in offering advice and guiding me with new areas. You know, anytime there's a new area,
Right.
People are willing to help me. So I do feel empowered with that kind of support.
Right. How do you empower women in the community to take the same kind of an initiative as you've taken?
Well, we speak with our 4-H youth and our youngsters. We have internship programs. We have I have an intern right now who's a rising senior at Cornell, and she's working with us on the Education Center in 4-H Park. This is my second one. We frequently have interns come through, and interestingly enough, most of them recently have been women. So we do have one male intern this year as well. So how do we empower women? We really, I think, just tell you how it is. One area that I feel fairly strongly about is the need to really dress appropriately for women. And so sometimes the girls wear a little less clothing than we think, and we have the expression, which is for men too, 4-HA, 4-H appropriate. And so they're told when they go places that they need to be appropriate. So for the boys, they can't be wearing their pants down, too low. And for the girls, it's cover up.
Yeah.
You got to cover up. And I know my own daughter thinks that I'm conservative, which I am. But I think that's very useful for women, that you're known for what you can do.
Right, not for how you
And
look.
still look attractive, but
Right.
yeah.
Also, I think what you did with the budgeting and with teaching the nutrition for that woman that was the homemaker was really empowering for her, because
Yes.
she went from eating improperly to eating nutritionally, getting more energy.
Yeah, that was a really great letter to get from her. How our educator Sandra had changed her life, and she took the time to write me a letter about it. We work with tremendous numbers of women in our nutrition program, and we have a couple of nutrition programs, but one of them is specifically tied to families with children, and overwhelmingly, it's the mother that we're working with.
Yeah.
So.
I can imagine, because I know that if you're not getting the proper nutrition, you are not in a good mood.
No, it's true.
So
It's true.
I think a lot of the temper tantrums that we may see with some of the young children might be a result of them not having the proper nutrition. And you can't really think about what you're learning if you're not adequately fed.
That's true. And we have a number of programs for parenting where we encourage both parents. And this really allows parents to have meaningful conversations about their differences in parenting. And it provides a safe place for them to have that discussion that's usually in an unemotional setting.
Right.
So for more productive conversation.
Yep.
I participated when our son was about 2 in Discipline is Not a Dirty Word. And it was really interesting to hear how the other parents might respond to behavior or what have you. And in the class, there was one woman who said it was hard for her children to go to bed. But one of the reasons that became pretty clear to me was that she was giving the child a sugary beverage in the bottle, going to bed. Okay, so there's a lot of red flags with that. And there was a TV on that was like the child could look through the crib and see the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And the facilitator of the class doesn't say, oh, no, don't do that. We all kind of chimed in. And it makes it for a safer environment.
Right.
Because it's not like, oh, you don't want to do that, but, well, this works for me.
Right.
Or this, or what do I do about this? And it's very, very powerful. We also have a Strengthening Families class, and that's the preteens before the communication can go downhill.
Right.
And so the families start off together, then we separate the parents from the children, and they each work on projects, and then they come back together again, and it's over a meal. And we've had remarkable success, and families writing back years later what a difference it made in their ability to communicate with their child and vice versa.
I just have to tell you, no matter what I ask you, I'm totally amazed that you have all these programs.
The great thing about working in this job is you learn a lot through osmosis, even if it's not your main area. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a great program. And if I didn't ask you about, the communication and about nutrition, we wouldn't have even known about that. I mean, that's really a very valuable program for parents to be able to communicate with their children before they become teenagers.
Well, and on our website, we have a program you can hit called Let's Talk About It, and there's various issues about talking about it. And that one, we do work with parents, but especially with professionals on non-suicidal self-injury, because cutting's been one of the most obvious forms of hurting oneself, and that's a big issue, and more girls than boys in that situation. So we recently had a Cornell professor down to speak first in the morning. It was at the Emergency Services Center auditorium, and the room was almost full. I think that holds about 300 people. So there were a lot of people there. And then in the evening for parents to come and hear about what are the symptoms,
What advice would you give those looking to improve their quality of life?
Well, once your basic needs are met, and for some people, they need to have their basic needs met. So, but once you have good nutrition, right, and a safe place to live, I think it's really important to give back, because we feel good when we give back to someone in need or to a community, whether it's simple like a cleanup day at a park, wherever you live, or whether it's being a mentor for boys or girls, big brother, big sister kind of thing, become involved with 4-H, giving back where you have strengths and even maybe where you don't, because you can grow. I think
It's just a matter
It's
of
just critical.
community.
Yeah.
Because when you're giving back, or even when you're receiving or giving back, it's a flow of community. So,
And a lot of good comes from it.
yep.
So
In your opinion, what are the essential parts of a well-rounded life and a fulfilling community?
Balance. Balance for the individual, and then for community would be diversity. I think that's very important. So balance in our own lives, which is getting harder and harder. Our society seems kind of frenetic. And sometimes we have to stop doing good things to do great things. And we get hung up on doing a lot of really good things and run around with chickens with our head cut off. And whether you're a parent having your child engaged in all these different activities, but are you really sitting down and enjoying family dinners? Are you taking the time to really talk with your child? Or are you just running around for organized activities? I think we need to really think about that. But I talk to people with all different stages in life, and it seems like we're all really, really busy. And I think we want to be careful about our busyness and think about what can we take away and what's really meaningful that we need to focus on. And then for the community, I think diversity in the community. And some communities are more diverse than others, whether it's racial, ethnic, religious, economic. But if you don't, being open and enjoying diversity in the world. Now, I had the advantage of twice living in very different countries, and we can learn a lot from each other.
I remember you mentioned that you spent some time in Thailand. How long
Yeah.
were you in Thailand?
I was in Thailand as a Peace Corps volunteer for 2 years, and there was a 3-month training program, and was a phenomenal experience. Very difficult. You know, time is different. Time is very different. I can remember making an appointment with a 4-H club for 1 o'clock. This is checking with the group. You know, are you okay? Yeah. Everybody could be there at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, no one was there. You know, at 1:15, no one's there. At 1:30, somebody shows up. And then I ended up going around on my little motorcycle, which is not allowed in the Peace Corps anymore. And the extension worker and I ended up picking up the kids. And, you know, by 3 o'clock, we had the kids to have our meeting, because time is just very different. And the sense of humor is different, and you have to. That's hard, you know, because we want to get things done. We're
Right.
Americans. We're productive. We have to get things done. You know, the rainy season was very frustrating for me because, you know, I could go to the office, but you couldn't go anywhere because anything that wasn't paved, you couldn't, or not passable. So that was very frustrating, and you just kind of have to sit back and see, well, what can you do? You know, so I worked on my language skills. But
What was your biggest takeaway from that?
wow, the biggest takeaway. The biggest takeaway, I would say, was being immersed in a culture, but coupled with the language. Because when you learn a language, you really learn how people think
Right.
differently. But when you live it, you really see it. So as an example, we use a lot of brain words, if you will. Patience, we might say hot-headed. We don't even really say that. We would be angry or whatever. In Thai, it all refers to the heart. So if someone's generous, it's like a water heart. Or if you're anxious or excited, they'd say, "Oh, have a cool heart," you know. And so it's very heart-based, and you can see that reflected in the language.
Right.
And so it's kind of interesting to see that play out. I would think that's probably the biggest takeaway. And the other, which directly related to my work, was, you know, you have to give people what they want, even if you're right, and you may or may not be right, but if you think something else is more important, you have to give them so they develop relationship and trust, and then you can work on what you think is important. And I find that in our extension work, we might have a brilliant idea, but if people aren't ready for it yet, you have to do other things to bring them in, and then it might be a few years. So be patient.
Right.
And lay your groundwork, and then the timing will be. Or maybe it won't, but that's okay.
Well, I want to thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And it's really been enlightening to find out all about the great things that you're doing and all the things that, you know, everyone can participate in. And there are cooperative extensions throughout the country.
Oh, every state.
Every state has them.
Yeah.
So even if we're not in New York State or in Orange County, people can still participate and find out what's available in their local area.
Yeah, Cornell Cooperative Extension it reaches every county in New York State, including New York City, all the counties in New York City. So.
Right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.